Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Scotland and we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel a good couple of times before. This will be review number 5 or 6 from these guys if memory serves me correctly, but this is a brewery who have been getting a lot of attention in recent times, and based on my previous experiences I would say that that is pretty well justified actually. These guys have got some really very nice beers actually. So for this review then we are going to head through to Edinburgh once again, although I guess you could say Dundee for this brewery as well, and we're going to have a look at another offering from Vault City Brewing. So this particular beer is called the Tropical Sour, Mango, Coconut and Passionfruit. It comes in at 7.2% ABV, and just looking at the ingredients list I guess that this one may well be somewhat similar to some of these kind of big sweet and smooth Berliner Weisses and sort of Gose type beers actually. So yeah, really curious to see how this beer turns out. 7.2% ABV, and yeah, I think this one should be very nice. But yeah, you will see several beers released under the name Tropical Sour from Vault City Brewing, but they do list all the different fruits underneath, and I think that is considered as part of the name. So just be aware if you are looking at the beers called Tropical Sour from this brewery that you probably will find ones with different fruits and adjuncts and things added into them. But yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. Hopefully it's another good beer from Vault City Brewing, and as I said, I think this one will be review number 5 or 6 that we've done from these guys so far, but it will be the second of 3 beers that you'll see reviewed in this particular cycle of Scottish beer reviews from Vault City. So yeah, curious to see how it turns out, and as always I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So let's crack on then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Vault City Brewing before, and you will see more added to that list in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to quite regularly at the moment because I am enjoying a little bit of time at home in the motherland, and hopefully we can get more Scottish beer reviews up a little bit more regularly. You will see more Scottish reviews in February, COVID permitting, and definitely in September, I'm sure. Things will be sorted by then. But yeah, as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Vault City Brewing then, on to my brewery notes. So, Vault City Brewing, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Edinburgh, or were originally based in Edinburgh I guess I should say, but they were founded back in 2018 by Johnny Horn, Adele Wilkie and Stephen Smith Hay. So Johnny worked at the Hanging Bat, which is a brew pub on Lothian Road in the city. Really nice place that I do recommend you check out. I hope to make an out and about video there at some point soon, but Steve and Adele were regular customers at the brew pub, and they just kind of forged a friendship because they all really liked beer basically. They just used to sit and talk a little bit about all the different beers and things out there. But Johnny was studying at the time, and he was also a keen home brewer, as was Stephen, and this was one of the other reasons that their friendship kind of blossomed, if you like. The two began planning a brewery together, and then Adele was contributing a lot of ideas to this, and then she joined them properly after that. But Johnny was a great fan of the Belgian lambics and sours, and this really rubbed off on Adele and Stephen. And at the time that they were planning the brewery, they felt that there was a big gap in the Scottish beer scene for a sour beer brewery, and that ended up being the route that they went down, and we're safe to say it has been very successful for them. But initially they didn't think so much about making money, they just kind of wanted to enjoy it, so they set up a glorified home brewing kit, as they called it, in as their brewery in Steve and Adele's kitchen, and they began brewing weekly back in July of 2018. Over the last couple of years though, they've been travelling to different beer festivals around Europe and things like that. I've actually first encountered this brewery and learned about them at Bruskival in Helsingborg in Skåne, back over in Sweden, and I saw they were a Scottish brewery, and then I researched them and found out exactly what they were. So yeah, they have been quite successful in getting their name out there, and over the last little while they have just been producing lots of different beers. As of January 2021, when I'm producing this review for you, they've produced around 70 different kinds of beer, and most of their beers these days are brewed at 71 Brewing up in Dundee. But the brewery takes its name Vault City from the Edinburgh or Southside Vaults, as they're called. You'll find these in the arches of the Southside Bridges, and these use the Southside Bridge, sorry, in the Edinburgh Old Town. And basically, these little spaces were home to, like, you know, cobblers and tradesmen, and also taverns apparently as well. But they're very, very historic, and I think it is nice that they chose a name that is related to the old historic part of Edinburgh, actually. So yeah, that's where the term Vault City comes from. It used to be where a lot of tradesmen and stuff and workers went to, you know, have a beer and, you know, ply their trade and stuff like that. So yeah, that is everything that we can really say about Vault City Brewing for the moment. But yeah, if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. I think this one should be very interesting. But I've had some great beers from these guys over the last little while. The one that I have probably enjoyed the most so far would be the Iron Brew Sour. That's a lovely, very, very kind of sweet sour based on a Scottish soda drink, for those of you that are watching that are not Scottish. Yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful beer, and I think that's the best one I've had so far, but the others have been very, very interesting. After that, it was the Sour IPA version 2, if I remember rightly. Then I had the Farm to Fermenter Blueberry, which came through Systembolaget in Sweden, and very recently, of course, for New Year's Day, I reviewed the Double Crust Raspberry Pie. So, yeah, that was a really, really interesting beer as well. I'm not sure how I feel about pastry sours, to be quite honest with you, but it was a very well crafted beer, so if you like your pastry sours, I'm sure you guys will appreciate that one. But on the back here, it says Tropical Sour, Mango, Coconut, Passion Fruit. As winter draws nearer, we look to sunnier climates to bring you a taste of the tropics in your glass. Having ripened in the far-off sunshine, we've picked a mouth-watering medley to transport you to a world of tropical tartness in this modern sour beer. A sweet mango base and floral passion fruit tartness are unified by the creamy character of coconut, which imparts a hint of woody vanilla. Each element stands apart, and together they are complemented by our ester-filled house mixed culture base beer. Sunglasses at the ready, and on we go. But yeah, as you can see, nice artwork on this one, as you're always going to get from Vault City. It's cool that these guys at such an early stage have their own house yeasts and things like that. But yeah, I would guess that, as you know, a number of the kind of imperial stout orientated breweries do, they have got a base beer that they're adding different adjuncts to and kind of pumping out there, of course. Because yeah, that's it. That is it. That's quite an easy way to do things. But you know, Vault City are doing it very, very well. And if they've got a perfect base recipe, then it's great. The other brewery that comes to mind when we think about base recipes, of course, would be you know, would be originally what Nerd Brewing were doing in Malmö in the early days. You know, Hannes over there got imperial stouts just bang on, and then played around with different adjuncts and stuff like that with them. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. This is a 375ml bottle, and this is another one that I picked up from Valhalla's Goat through in Glasgow. I think I paid maybe £6-7 for this one, so yeah, pretty damn good value, I have to say. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. 7% sour beer, this one, with mango, coconut and passion fruit in it. Ooh, good little bit of carbonation coming out there. You can see the smoke on the opening there. But let's get this guy out and into the glass. I've got a feeling that this beer will just look like a very hazy kind of New England IPA. As I mentioned earlier, this one does have oats and wheat in the malt base, so I suspect that it will be somewhat similar to some of these big, fruity and smooth Berliner Weisses and Goses that I've had from the likes of, you know, Morgendagens and things like that in over by in Sweden. But yeah, looks pretty damn awesome, I have to say. Very impressed with the appearance of this beer. So yeah, as you can see with this one, and as you would expect from a beer like this, this has poured to be, yeah, just very much like some of these New England IPAs that you're going to come across, but it looks even more like fruit juice. So you've got a very rich looking kind of mixed tropical juice type appearance to this one. You can see when we poured the beer that it had you know, maybe about a quarter or an eighth of a quite bubbly head in this one. It really looks very, very nice. But yeah, the colour of this one, it's like a very, it is like a kind of rich mango juice, if you like, but with a few, it looks as if it's got a few other kind of fruits thrown into that. But I suppose if it's mango and passion fruit, that's not overly surprising. Passion fruit is a little bit darker in its colour from what I remember, actually. So yeah, the colour of this one is what you would expect, but really this beer does look absolutely like fruit juice. But yeah, it's got a nice level of haze to it. You can see if I put my fingers behind the glass there, that will be coming from the oats and the wheat in this one, but it certainly looks the part. So yeah, not overly surprised about the colour or appearance of this one, considering what it tells you on the bottle there. But yeah, I think this beer is going to be pretty damn good, actually. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma of this one and see how we get on. Nothing overly surprising about the appearance. As I've said, lovely, rich, bright kind of yellow, but with a wee bit of a kind of mixed fruit tropical juice in this one in terms of its appearance. Yeah, let's go for it. Oh yeah, straight away that one. It smells like, you know, some kind of fruity smoothie or something like that. Absolutely, it's really interesting for sure. So it's kind of interesting. I think the passion fruit is the more punchy of the fruits in this beer, but remember, I've said in other sour beer reviews before that these types of sour beer, they're not the most complex in terms of their aromas, and they're not the most complex in terms of their flavour profiles. It's, for me, sour beers like this are all about the transition of flavour, and they're very, as I say, they're very straight shooting, I guess we could say, but they're really, if they're done properly, they're always very, very nice, and I've got a feeling that this one is going to be another one of those. Very straight shooting in its flavour and aroma profile, but just a beautiful beer. We'll see how we go. But yeah, straight away with this one, you've got that quite punchy and almost quite sharp passion fruit coming out of the beer. You can smell the juicy mango just underneath it. But yeah, and you don't even get so many tropical fruit complexities to this one. It is all about that slightly sharper, punchier passion fruit, and then the juicy mango just sitting underneath it. But yeah, it goes together really, really nicely. Underneath that, of course, you can smell a little bit of the kind of bitiness and sort of thickness of the wheat. There is a wee touch of bitiness to it, but you can really feel. I say this word because I saw it on a wheat-orientated hazy IPA that Toyo did recently, but turbidity. You can almost just smell that thick, kind of turbid type quality from the wheat in this one. You can smell that in the background, but the oats, I think, they're almost kind of pushed back a little bit by the juiciness of the fruit in this beer for sure. One of the things I do like about the Vault City beers as well is that they always put a bit of hop in them, so you do get a little bit more of a green component. Those breweries that I was mentioning earlier from Sweden, you know, Duck Pond, Morgondagens, and I think, can we include Fermenter Arna in that? I'm not sure. But these kind of breweries, they don't tend to put hops in these big juicy sours, and I think the beer just loses something if you don't put a little bit of hop in it. So I think that's what really makes me like these Vault City beers so much, is that they just have a little bit more complexity to the green component. It just adds so much depth to the beer rather than it being a big, you know, oat wheat fest, if you like. It just gives the beer a little bit more depth. But yeah, it just goes together really, really well, this one. So lovely big smooth oaty character to this one. You can smell that big thick turbid wheaty character in there. You maybe get just a little hint of a slightly Werther's Original type quality out of this one, but yeah, that a little bit of that butter candy Werther's Original is definitely in there, sitting underneath the fruit. But yeah, you do get a little touch of a green component to this beer. So there's a tiny little hint of earthiness in there, but the juiciness of the fruit really covers that up. Remember, when it comes to adding adjuncts into the beer, such as fruit, they suppress a little bit of the green side of the beer, so it's quite difficult to detect the green side of the beer, but you will detect it in the flavour, I'm sure. But you get a wee bit of grassiness out of this one, and you can pick up just a little bit of a kind of floral quality to this beer as well. So very straight shooting beer, this one. Good bit of big smooth thick oaty character, some nice big wheaty notes in there, a little bit of a kind of butter candy Werther's Original type note for me, a nice little touch of earthiness, wee bit of floral character as well, bit of light grassiness, then it's the sharpness of the passion fruit that's in there, and the juicy mango qualities that are kind of sitting underneath, and the coconut just kind of smells, it gives you a slightly sweeter edge to the beer, if that makes sense. The coconut smells as if it's very much infused into the oaty side of things. Actually, the coconut for me isn't too pungent, I don't think. This one's more about the fruit for sure, but the coconut is definitely detectable in there. It's kind of mixing in with the mango and the oats, I would say. So yeah, very straight shooting beer, nothing really surprising about its aroma. To be honest with you, it is kind of what you'd expect. But take a little bit of time to enjoy that before you get stuck into the beer. We're going to taste this one now and see how we get on. So this one is the Tropical Sour, a mango coconut passion fruit sour beer, if you like, coming in at 7.2% ABV from Vault City Brewing through in Edinburgh. Really very curious about this one. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Oh, that does have a wee bit of sharpness when you take it in. But again, as I said to you, when it comes to these sour beers, it's all about the transition of flavour. So when you take this thing in, it really just has a little bit of it's got a very slight kind of puckering quality to it. But at the same time, as you usually get with these Vault City beers, there's just a little bit of juiciness to that tartness that the beer has. You will get beers that are a lot sharper than this one. This, I think, is probably the sharpest one I've had from Vault City so far, to be quite honest with you. And I've not, as I say, I've not tried too many beers from these guys. 5 out of a possible 60 or 70. I do need to try more. Tayberry Sour is one that's on my my radar amongst others. But yeah, this one does have a little bit more sharpness to it compared to some of the other ones I've had so far. Yeah, just very nice. Again, this beer doesn't do anything surprising when you read what's on the label, but it's just really well executed, and that's what Vault City do very well. They produce beers that are just very well crafted, and that's what you want. That is exactly what you want. So yeah, as I say, when you take this beer in, the impact is really nice. It's got a little bit of a puckering quality to it there, but as I said earlier, these sour beers are all about the transition of flavour. The puckering quality in this one is just a little bit more juicy. The sour tartness there is just a little bit more juicy compared to other breweries that I've come across, and the beer just mellows out really nicely. So yeah, the tartness I think is coming from the passion fruit. It's almost like a slightly lemony zesty type passion fruit that you get with this one, but it comes in, hits the back of that front third of your tongue, and then just kind of juices out as you go further into the aftertaste with the beer, and then you get all the other elements coming out of the beer too. So yeah, I really like how that goes together. Absolutely. But yeah, the passion fruit for me takes the lead in this one, but I think the mango comes out a little bit more the further you go into the aftertaste with the beer. The mango's giving it the more sweet side of the fruit, whereas I think the passion fruit is giving it a little bit more of the kind of zesty side of things. But it does feel as if the passion fruit is a wee bit of a kind of lemony, sort of citricy quality to it as well, which is very interesting. So yeah, lovely stuff. But yeah, let's break down the flavour of the beer as we always do. So straight away with this beer, you can feel with this one a little bit, there is a wee touch of pale malt in there or something just forming the base of the beer. You do get a tiny little hint of a kind of soft, crisp, white bready quality in there. But as you go on top of that, you've got a nice big smooth oaty quality out of the beer. I really like that about this one. So yeah, big thick oaty component in there. If you go to the very centre of your palate, there is a wee hint of that Werther's Original slightly butter candy type thing in there. That's just giving the beer the sweetness. It's 7.2%. To a degree you do have to cover up the alcohol, and when you've got an oat kind of centric base like this, that's kind of how it turns out. It just gives you a wee bit of a Werther's Original type flavour. But you know, the boozy components in a West Coast IPA, for example, where it's more caramelly orientated, it's brown sugars it comes out as, so that's not surprising about this beer. But yeah, the centre of your palate, middle third of your palate, a little bit of a pale malty base, some oaty creaminess in there, and that Werther's Original butter candy type thing there. But as you move into the back third of your palate, you can feel it's all about the wheat. It's all about the wheat in there. But yeah, the wheaty side of this beer, again, it's very smooth actually. You can feel as you go into that back third of your palate, the thickness of the beer just picks up a little bit. As you go to the very back of the tongue, it has a little bit of bitiness to it, but then as you move further forward again, it just smoothens out, which is really nice. And on that borderline between the middle third and the back third of your palate. The thickness drops away, but you've just got a wee hint of a kind of grainy breadiness in there, actually, almost a wee touch of bread crust or a soft crisp white bread, if that makes sense, like a fresh bread roll. It's kind of like that. But the two malty thirds of this beer, if you like, are very, very nicely done. Nice thick and smooth wheaty note at the back, and then just a big oaty and slightly butter candy type thing in the middle of your palate too. It's a beautifully done malt base, this one. I like to focus on the malt base a little bit, Scottish sweet tooth and all that. But on the hoppy side of things, it's got a nice component in there as well. I would suspect that it's maybe, you know, like a Hallertau or a Tettnang type hop that's in here. Remember, when it comes to sour beers, quite often a technique used is to either use a very low alpha acid hop or to use an old hop, basically, where some of the potency of the alpha acids and stuff has just dropped off. But yeah, in the back corners of the palate you do get a little bit of a soft, almost noble like earthiness coming out of this one. As you move further forward, it's a little touch herbal, and as you reach the kind of front corners of the palate, it's definitely a little bit more kind of floral and aromatic there. It's not spicy or anything, it just has a little bit of a kind of bright floral note there, but you can feel the sort of I think it's the passion fruit just kind of sits on top of that and suppresses it a little bit. Remember, if you add adjuncts into the beer, particularly fruits, they suppress a little bit of the green side of the beer, actually, which I really like. Yeah, it's really nice. You can detect around the front curve of your palate, you can detect a little bit of a grassiness in there, and it's got a wee bit of zestiness too, which again is very, very nice. But yeah, the passion fruit is kind of sitting in on top of that, so it's really, as I say, I think the citricy qualities really come from the passion fruit in this one rather than the mango. The thing that you're going to notice about this beer as well is that as you move towards the front half of that middle third of your palate, that's where you're getting all the kind of coconutty flavours coming out there. I think the coconut is most prominent in the aftertaste. You've seen how long it was since I took a sip of that beer, and it's oats and coconut that are coming out of this beer at this point in time. But yeah, as you move into that front third of your palate, as I always say, that front third of your palate is where you get the nice oily bubble, where those juicy fruity esters just push their way out of the beer. On that border region between the front and middle third of your palate, there is a little bit of a very soft, kind of smooth white bready character to it, and I really like that and really appreciate that about this beer as well. But yeah, as you move in front of that, this beer very quickly becomes very mango orientated. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a wee bit of citra or something in this. There's definitely a very soft kind of tropical orientated hop. You know, there's a few candidates it could be, like Racal, Victoria's Secret, Galaxy. I don't think it's Galaxy, it's not pungent enough to be Galaxy. You know, Idaho 7 would be the other one. You know, El Dorado. There's a few hops it could be, but there's a tropically orientated hop in this one, because you can feel a little bit of the more sort of juiciness from the hop there, whereas the fruit flavours that are extracted from the fruit itself, from the adjuncts, would tend to be a little bit more kind of slick, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's a really interesting point about this beer as well. Underneath that front third of your palate, the oats, the kind of smooth oats, just kind of sit there. But then, as I say, on that back part of the palate, you've got that sharper, kind of almost zesty quality from the passion fruit, but as you move further forward, it does become more mango orientated. As you reach the middle half of that front third of the palate, you might get a few papaya, apricot-y type flavours in there, but and they linger there, but as you reach the kind of very tip of the tongue, there's a few sort of almost lemony, zesty kind of notes in there. But the passion fruit, as I say, I think is the big zesty one there. You can feel the smooth sort of mango juice just sitting on top of all those flavours that I've described in there. I wonder if it's like mango and passion fruit puree they're putting in this one. You know, it's basic chemistry, higher surface area, better reactivity and all of this. So I suspect that that's what's going on in this one. But around the very front edge of the palate, it's got a good little bit of zestiness in there. It's almost a lemony like zestiness in this beer. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a wee touch of Centennial in this one as well, come to think of it. But yeah, the passion fruity notes for me and the zest are and the sour notes are just around the very edge of the tongue. But it's a really, really nice, really nice sour beer, this one. I very much like how it goes together. Beautifully Beautifully crafted beer, this one, and that's what we've come to expect from Vault City over the years. This is just very, very nice. As I say, I think this is the first kind of tropically beer that I've had from these guys, and I think that was the main reason behind buying this one, because the last fruity beer I had was a more berry orientated one. The sour IPA was, in fairness, quite tropical, but to see one that is fully tropical like this is very, very nice for sure, and I'm impressed with this. So I'll be keeping an eye out for other versions of the tropical sour for sure, absolutely. So yeah, really, really solid beer, this one. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for the sort of flavour profile of this beer for sure. Sorry about the edit there, guys. Another issue with the memory card as I've been having lately. But yeah, we were just about to move on to the mouthfeel of this beer then. So I would say that this beer is pretty full-bodied. It's not the thickest and most creamy of these kind of sour beers that I've had in recent times. That award would probably go to the likes of the Duck Ponds and the Morgendagens from Sweden that I've mentioned earlier, the breweries that don't use the hops in these beers. But like I say, I like that little bit of hoppiness that the beer has. It just gives it a little touch of almost crispness and just bitterness on the edge of the palate. I think it just adds a nice little bit of depth to the beer. So yeah, definitely a full-bodied beer. The carbonation is very smooth. You do get a little bit of that typical Scottish cleanliness to the water with this one, so it has a really nice cleanliness to it, this beer too. But yeah, definitely full-bodied, not the thickest as I say, but getting towards that kind of top end of full-bodied for a sour beer. I always find the sour beers feel a little bit lighter right enough, but a lovely kind of slick but still quite thick creaminess to this beer. Yeah, it's quite a slick and just very, very creamy sour, this one. I really like how that goes together. But yeah, in terms of the hoppy bitterness of this beer, this one's got just a little touch of it, maybe 10 to 15 IBUs, Hefeweizen level kind of bitterness out of the beer. The malt base, like I say, very, very smooth and quite thick. There's a little touch of wheaty kind of bitiness to it, and just a wee bit of sweetness in the very centre of the palate too, but lovely kind of juicy fruitiness there. Not the most puckering of sour beers, as I say, that you're going to come across, but definitely the most puckering one I've had thus far from Vault City, and it's the Passionfruit that's giving it that. But the mango really gives it a little bit more of a kind of smooth juiciness, if you like, and you can get a few of the kind of hoppier fruity sides out of the beer as well. But it's a very, very nice one, this. I highly recommend that you try this if you get the chance, and I do look forward to trying a few other versions of this tropical sour later with a few different adjuncts and things like that. I'll need to keep an eye on what Vault City are releasing over the next little while, and just try to enjoy a few more of the more tropical orientated sours. But yeah, lovely, lovely beer, this one. Another great example of a sour beer from Vault City, and as I say, I look forward to trying more beers from these guys in the future. You will see another one coming up very, very shortly on the channel actually, and that is probably the most quirky of the beers that I think we're going to come across from Vault City over the next little while. But yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Vault City Brewing. We will return to these guys very, very soon, like I said, and I'm sure that in February and September, when we have the opportunity to review more Scottish beers, we will have something else from these guys to review as well. One of the Scottish breweries to look out for over 2021 for sure, but already making waves over the last kind of year and a half, 2 years or so. But yeah, awesome to try this one. This one was the Tropical Sour mango, coconut and passion fruit version. It's 7.2% ABV from Vault City Brewing, originally based in Edinburgh, but now brewing most of the beers up in Dundee. I do hope that these guys get a tap room in Edinburgh at some stage. I think that's something that they really, really need to do. But another awesome beer from these guys, definitely the most puckering one I've had so far. But yeah, thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Vault City as well, and we will return to these guys very, very soon, as I said. Until the next time, slàinte, skål, cheers, and catch you guys in the next review.